Jason.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Wonderful. November.
Yeah.
The year is coming to a close.
Slowly winding down.
Crazy.
Right. We get the holiday season in December, which is kind of nice. Then we have to deal with 3 months of the good old Canadian winters, right?
Can't wait.
Speaking
till
of
spring.
Speaking of Canadian winters, I want to talk about on this show. This show's episode is called the Golden Triangle of Your Life, and back in, I would say, June or July, I bought this book, or I got a book on Audible or one of those book services. And it was written by a gentleman. His name was Bill Perkins, and the book was called Die With Zero. And, Jason, it was one of those books that I started reading it, and it was like one aha after another, right? And I'm reading it, and the gist of the book is, we work our whole lives. We sacrifice for that day to come. And, sometimes that day doesn't come, right? And it's funny because in the book, Bill talked about people fall into two categories. The first category is those that saved too much. So they saved their whole lives and they forego taking trips and buying stuff, living in the moment, having experiences. And then there's the second group, which is those that saved too little. And it's funny, in our business, it's almost perfect, right? We either see those that have saved too much money or those that have saved too little money. And, one of the questions in the book that he talks about is, will the future self you run out of money? And what's the sweet spot to spending your wealth? Because what I find right now is, for 30 years or so, I've been conditioned to defer experiences, deferred gratification, right? Save money, pay down debt, pay your bills off, pay down your mortgage, all these things that we're doing, and you delay gratification, but it's hard to just turn the switch on to go from a saver to a spender.
Yeah, it's similar to retirement, right? Like we talk about there's a big psychological factor that most retirees have to deal with all the way along. For, like you said, for 30, 40 years, you see your bank accounts grow and grow and grow, and then you have to turn a light switch and it starts to dwindle, and it's a hard thing. It's a hard shift to make, right?
Sure. And I'll use the example. Like my wife and I did a renovation in the house just a few months ago, and it was significant, right? And I had to take money out of my account to pay for it, and I didn't like doing that. I'm like, if I take the money out of my account, it won't be there. However, I do want to have some I want to have some gratification of my home, and I love my home, and my home is my palace. But it was a hard shift for me to go in and make that redemption when I've been so used to just putting money away, deferring. Yeah. And in the book, Bill Perkins' book, Die With Zero, he talks about it. He says there's the go-go years, meaning you got to go, right? There's the slow-go years, meaning you start slowing down, and then there's the no-go years. And, when you start hearing these comments about putting it off, I said one night to Christina, I said, if I ever die one day and I haven't achieved my bucket list, I'm going to be a really angry person up in heaven.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and when you talk about the go-go years, slow go and no-go, there's different spending patterns too. The go-go years, you're spending a lot, you're active, you're traveling, your hobbies, you've got a lot of hobbies. The slow-go years, you start to dwindle it down a little bit. Things kind of shrink in your world. And of course, the no-go years, maybe the spending increases because of healthcare or because you have to move out. You can't live in your home anymore, so you have to go to a long-term care home. So different spending habits in each one of those divisions of retirement or your golden years. And a lot of times we'll talk about money as it's a tool. It's a tool for survival first, and then the experiences, as you said, second. And sometimes those experiences don't come. Sometimes you just keep building your wealth, and you forget about those experiences that you're supposed to have. But we've got choices, of course, in life, and the one choice that sometimes we don't have is our health, and that's what can change things. So yes, we've got choices what to do with our money, but until our health could dictate which way our experiences go.
Well, it's amazing, right? So you get a lot of people that say to me, I want to retire one day. I want to live in Florida for 6 months. That's all great, absolutely achievable. However, if your health goes, we can do things until our health tells us we can't do it. And Bill made a great point in the book. He talked about, he was in the Vatican, I think it was, or there was a story about the Vatican. So this tour bus gets off in front of the Vatican in Italy, obviously, and all these seniors get off the bus, and they got their canes and they got their walkers and so on. And he said, there's 2 levels to the Vatican, I think. And he said they all walked in the Vatican and couldn't get to the second level, right? Because there was no elevators in the Vatican, right? Yeah. Apparently. Yeah. And he goes, isn't that funny? He says, you saved up your whole life to go to the Vatican. Yeah. You're taking a trip to Italy. Who knows what that's costing you? But you can't really enjoy the full Vatican experience because you can't get to the second level. And the second great story was, you're not going to climb the wall of China when you're 85, 90 years old, right? Exactly. So the time, the go-go years is when you want to start doing that. And it's funny too. Last little quick point here is, you've worked your whole life for money, and then you've died with way too much money. And it's a really fine line between how much do you want to leave your kids and how much do you not want to leave your kids. But getting people through that mindset takes some work. And I do want to show a chart on the screen. So those that are watching on YouTube, you'll see the chart. Those that aren't, that are on the podcast, you won't see it. But I kind of coined a term based out of Bill's book, and I called it the golden triangle. And if you can try to visualize this golden triangle, there's 3 stages in a person's life, right? There's the beginning stage, right? So maybe in the beginning stage, we're 20, we're 30, we're 40, we're raising our family. There's 3 critical factors in the golden triangle. One is health, right? These have to line up. Health, wealth, and time. So when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, I had really good health. I could do anything. Body never had an ache or a pain. I didn't have a lot of wealth. I was trying to build my wealth, and we had debt, we had mortgages, we had kids, and so on. So I wasn't financially at that level that I'm at today. And then I had no time because I was busy running around with 2 kids in dance and soccer and football and baseball and whatever. So in the early years of my life, of the golden triangle, I only had one of the 3 sides of the golden triangle. Fast forward, let's say to mid-70s, 80s, and 90s, the golden triangle, you know what, health, wealth, and time, I probably won't have great health at that point. I mean, you get older and things start breaking down. I might have a lot of wealth, and I've got time. So in my early stages, I had one of the 3 factors of the triangle. In my later stage, I might have 2. So to me, what's the golden triangle, right? The golden timeline. It's, in my mind, Jason, it's between 50 and 70. And that's when I'm going to I still have really good health. I can walk, I can talk, I can run, I can do things, I can move around. I've got wealth, I've created some wealth, and I can find time now. So, when I said to my wife, I used this example, and I said, with this golden triangle, we are in the golden triangle, which is now, in my mind, it was 50-55 to maybe 70-75. And it's one of the questions I'm just starting to ask clients in meetings is, what's your golden triangle, right? So
yeah, I really like that that you've coined that phrase, the golden triangle, right? Because, like you said, health, thankfully, knock on wood, you and I are both in our mid-50s and we're healthy, and, we've got a good 5, 10, maybe even 20 years of health, and we can do things, and it's time to start doing those things that we've wanted to do, the active trips. I want to take my son to Utah and maybe do some hiking and stuff. I'm not waiting, like you said, with the Vatican. I'm not waiting until I'm 80. I'm doing it now because I know again, hopefully I'll be able to do some hiking in my 50s and early 60s. We've got time now. We still, the kids, all the hustle and bustle of life is slowly dwindling away. So we've got our time. And of course, we've built up a little bit of savings that we can do things. So I really like that phrase.
My father and I were talking a few weeks back, and he said to me, he's 80 years old, and he said, like, I can't do anything. I go and see him. I love him to death, obviously, but he's limited in his ability. He's got, back pain, and he's got arthritis, and he has a replacement hip and a replacement knee. And he said, like, I just can't do much. Right. Yeah. And he also said to me is, I don't spend money. And it's funny, right? We think that because we spend $100,000 or $200,000 or whatever it is a year while we're working, and we think when we retire, we should have $100,000 or $200,000 in retirement. You get to be 80, and your mom's a little bit older as well, and they just don't spend like they used to spend, right? So their needs are less. So again, stockpiling wealth for the future you that will never use it isn't maybe the best use of your wealth. And with regards to this golden triangle, the second piece of the golden triangle that I like to think about is I kind of coined a term. I called it the dream list. And one of the things I've been thinking about is, we know about the bucket list. I'm not a big fan of the word bucket list, but I changed the term to dream list. And I'm sitting down with my family and saying, okay, what's our next, like what's on our dream list, right? What are the 10 things that we want to do? And what's a timeline? So maybe it's next year, we want to go to Europe. Great. We'll go in June. Great. What's the investment? Maybe it's $10,000, $15,000. And how do we fund it? Do we fund it out of our TFSA? Do we fund it from our cash? So again, when you start thinking about your golden triangle and the perfect 10, 15, 20-year period to really enjoy your wealth and your hard work and your abundance, it's now time to kind of line up that dream list and make sure that all those things get checked off. So if you kind of finish your dream list, and you get a little bit older and you can't walk as well as you used to, at least you can say, hey, I've had some great experiences. And in the book that Bill talks about, he said nobody ever regrets sitting in their final few days on this earth, gloating over the fact they've got $3 or $4 million in the bank. What they think about is all the things that they did, all the experiences they created. So it's just it's an interesting concept, Jason. It kind of gets you thinking again.
Yeah.
And for anybody out there who's struggling with spending money, struggling with, do I spend it now? Do I defer it? My suggestion is, Bill Perkins, Die with Zero. It's a great read. The first half of the book is just lights out, fantastic.
You're right. So many aha moments. I made a lot of notes on throughout the book. It's a fantastic book.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
Jason Pollock, again, thanks again for coming in and this cool evening. And for
Thank
those
you
out
for
there,
having me.
Our pleasure, my pleasure. And for those out there, don't forget share the podcast. We're on Apple iTunes. We're on Spotify. And for those that want to watch Jason and I in high definition, color, video, go to YouTube and and you can see what it's all about.